talk to you about Rihanna's branding strategy, which has helped her for over the past 20 years. I believe she started in the early 2000s. And I'm going to do it based on the archetype model that I did with Michelle Obama, starting out with femininity. One thing that I can always say about Rihanna is she always has presented her feminine side. And of course, some people might say certain songs like XYZ Better Have My Money was more of the masculine side. But for the most part, in these days and times, she has always showed up feminine, gracious, relatable, compassionate, and kind, especially when dealing with fans, also dealing with reporters and media, and dealing with things that come out about her brand and her strategic way in communicating effectively as a feminine lady versus getting into her masculine and fighting fires that really are time wasting for her and her personal brand. I personally have seen Rihanna in Barbados during crop over, and it's basically a carnival. Think of a caravana in Toronto's carnival, and she was very, very feminine in her mannerisms. There was even a point where I saw a homeless man approach her for not an interview, but a signature or a photo. And her bodyguard had almost stopped him from approaching her, but she allowed him to come into her space, take the photo anyways. And it was very, very kind of her to do. Other ways Rihanna has showed her femininity over the decades is through her personal fashion and even the conversation that she had with Oprah leading up to the event between her and Chris Brown. I saw a woman who was in pain. I saw a woman who was vulnerable. She exhibited concern, and it looked that prior to the interview, she was experiencing some type of emotions. She didn't try to come up, as Lauryn Hill would say, hard as a rock. And she was very soft in her presentation, even when she was talking about that. Another archetype Rihanna exhibits is the street fashion that I have watched personally over the past 2 decades of her career. And that really, in my opinion, probably prompted her to start her own fashion line 20 years later, 18, 17, 16 years later. When Rihanna started out, a lot of Vogue and photographers, People magazine, the big thing were their websites, not so much social media at the time, but their websites. And they would take photos of her or clips from paparazzi and put them in galleries with other celebrities, which prompted me to go to certain stores to kind of get mini skirts and dresses and tops and summer outfits that kind of match the floral print, the bright colors, the classy but beautiful. And I do believe that was a part of her strategy to wear clothing. She noticed that she was ending up in Vogue magazine of her street fashion. And I do believe that at some point she told herself, I've already created a brand for myself for being a fashion stylista. And so why not start a clothing line? People have already watched what I've been wearing for the past 2 decades. They appreciate my playful yet professional, girly, but sultry fashion. And I have millions of credits from media and fashion outlets that say the same thing on Google. So I might as well start a company. They're going to believe in my ability to choose the right fabrics, the right prints, and things like that. And I believe that that's where her mindset was going. The other archetype Rihanna possesses is diversification. I do remember her being in a reality TV show where I believe she was a judge, or she supported fashion brands with putting together pieces. She obviously started out with her music. She's been modeling and doing brand deals for the longest time, and has also, I would say, also diversified as far as her portfolio is concerned. So if you do a Google search, you'll see a lot of real estate companies or not real estate companies, but real estate experts and kind of pop culture experts talk about her portfolio in real estate, in Savage X Fenty, in um, different, non-for-profit organizations. So she's always diversifying and not staying just in music, just in fashion. She has spread her wings into many different um, parts of helping customers, helping community disadvantaged communities, getting on reality show and getting a little bit of experience here when it comes to fashion, and then eventually starting her a real fashion brand. And so this is something that you can do with your career as well. Rihanna also is free spirited, which I think that's one of the reasons why so many people, not just women and her fans, but so many people across the globe appreciate the fact that she's not too serious, but she's not too playful. She doesn't come off as being better than anybody, even when she's on a panel of people talking or when she is in a movie promoting it. She never exhibits any kind of arrogance or superiority when she is out and about. The free spirited part of her also stems back to her personal fashion. I think a lot of people were probably expecting Rihanna to kind of have a sultry look while she was pregnant. And of course, maternity brands were around way before Rihanna got pregnant, but kind of the way she would dress and stuff like that really showed that even though she was pregnant, she still wanted to feel um, sultry and feminine and take risks with her fashion, even in her own maternity wear. I also think she's free spirited too because she's gone in and out of different genres in music, from pop to R&B to doing remixes and songs with rappers, and a little bit of rock here and there, a little bit of techno, and that makes her much more relatable to an international group versus if she were to just stay alone in pop and R&B and kind of stick there. She's open-minded, and I think that's what feels refreshing when I watch her in an interview or listen to a song about her heartbreak or her experiences. The other archetype is going back home to visit. We all know that Rihanna is from the beautiful island of Barbados, and I do believe that one of the reasons why I think people from the African diaspora and people in general respect her is because she's always going back home. There are a lot of celebrities and public figures who come from disadvantaged communities, and obviously they've done well for themselves, but sometimes they don't reference where their parents are from, where their grandparents are from, their nationality, their race. Sometimes people hide these things, or they just don't go back home because they're in America or they're in Canada and that's where they're doing really well at, and they don't want to connect themselves with their previous rough beginnings, so to say, economically or whatever the case may be. But Rihanna stays committed to going back to Barbados, I think, every year. I love the fact that, again, I've seen her only once. I know people that have seen her multiple times on the island. And seeing her there, she was there for the full crop over at that time that I saw her. And she was taking pictures with people. She was going on different floats, meaning trucks. She even got out and stopped at a house and was speaking to people. I wasn't sure if those were her family members or friends or people that she knows personally, but she's constantly giving us, I love myself, I love my culture, I love my country. The other thing I appreciate about her too is she never lost her accent. I do find it interesting that, take for example, people like Iggy Azalea, who is from Australia, but when she raps, she sounds African American. And I think it would have been much more interesting if Iggy Azalea had started out her career with the Australian accent as she rapped, just as a lot of UK rappers and UK singers these days. I'm hearing a lot more of their accents, but back in the day, a lot of UK singers, they would sing, but they sounded American. So I think that her authenticity and her love for her culture is what really helps people look at her as being an authentic person who loves her race, who loves her culture, who loves her femininity, and goes back home and, not just goes back home to her nice luxury lifestyle back home, but also mingles with the people. The other thing that she has been known to do is challenging brands. Let's take, for example, when Topshop, which I think is a UK retail company that also has branches in Canada, throughout Canada, the US, and I believe other international markets. She found out that they had put a photo of her on just a regular basic t shirt with her face on it. And she actually took them to court and won the battle for, I don't know if it's infringement, but she challenges brands. We've seen her many times talk about racism, and one of the famous lines that she has said, is if you have a friend that's not in the Black community, and they tell you to your face that they are your ally and they're there to help you, and if there's anything you need, tell them to pull up, are the words that she said when you're walking in the streets, and kind of showing that support for your community for issues that are related to injustice. So Rihanna isn't afraid to challenge brands, and she's not afraid to talk about not all, but most issues that are presented to her in questions. But she does it so diplomatically and never in a toxic, again, superior way, which I think a lot of people appreciate. So let's do a quick conclusion. I do believe that Rihanna will be here for decades to come. I personally think that her brand is much more relatable than Beyonce, for example, who kind of stays quiet for whatever her reasons are. Rihanna just seems very committed to being front, right, and center of her fans when she goes back home, when she's out and about in New York City. And I believe that one of the benefits for her to have a connection, not just with her customer base and her fans, but just non-celebrities and non-wealthy, rich people in general, is it helps her to redesign her clothing, market her content better, create different retail choices for women and men and other individuals that are inclusive and diverse to present to them as a new product, etc. And I believe too that without her having to tap into music, which I believe rumors are, she did state she's going to be doing music soon, she can still do retail. She can even do a Las Vegas residency when she gets to a certain stage of her career where she just kind of wants to stay in one place, not tour and do all this extra stuff and still win. So I'm going to go back to the conclusion of the archetypes here. Rihanna uses her feminine power to speak on issues, to present herself on red carpets, to do interviews, and so on and so forth. I think that she is aware of her femininity, and I do believe that she uses that because it feels natural and probably feels good to her, but it's an also alluring trait, kind of like an illuminating trait, like a moth to a light bulb, as an example. She's also street fashion. She's a street fashion expert, in my opinion, because I've been following this woman since the early 2000s, and she will continue to be in vogue in some of these big fashion media outlets because of her ability to wear comfortable clothing, oversized dresses, um, mini skirts with a sweater. Another signature thing that she likes to do, if I can remember, is wearing like baseball hats with like a blazer and a pair of jeans and high heels. Like Rihanna knows her body, she knows herself, and she has a very, very wide range of clothing. I don't think you can ever say that's a signature Rihanna look because she dresses the same way, she wears the same colors, etc. She has a very, very vast range of fashion looks. Diversification, she's been in reality TV, music, modeling, brand deals, fashion, philanthropic opportunities, and helping disadvantaged communities in third world countries as well. She's very free spirited, which makes people feel connected to her compared to other artists who kind of have an air about them, like they might be superior, they might be better, or they are more experienced than other artists in the game. She also has a tendency to go back home and maintain that Barbadian Bayesian accent, which some celebrities from different countries fail to do for their own reasons. But she's true to her race and she's true to her culture. And I think in general, people respect people who are into that kind of stuff. She stays quiet as well when it's necessary and needed. She doesn't always come out and talk about things that rumors about ASAP Rocky cheating on her, or um, there was last year, at the end of last year, there was like a credit card scandal that came out about Savage X Fenty, about people using signing up for some kind of service and then it kept charging them every month, and then they took her to court. And I think, I'm not sure what the outcome was of that, but she took care of it by going to court, and I believe there was a settlement in that to all of the customers that were impacted. But she didn't go on CNN or go on Oprah Winfrey to talk about that such a scenario. So she's very specific about what she talks about, and she stays quiet when needed and is strategic in timing, much like Michelle Obama in my last video. Check that out. And again, if you're watching this and enjoying it, click the subscribe button, because I have more public figure branding commentary and live streams to go. And last but not least, Rihanna challenges brands. The Top Shop was a good example of her face being on a t-shirt. They didn't contact her or do a brand deal for that. And she took Top Shop to court for that t-shirt infringement and won. And then she also speaks on racism and other things that are happening in America, in the world, in her country, when she feels the need to speak as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this Rihanna branding strategy. There's so much that we can learn here from her. And I'm looking forward to seeing where her career and her personal brand goes throughout the decades. Let me know what you think in the comments. What other archetypes did I miss here about Rihanna's branding strategy? What do you appreciate most about how she presents herself in interviews, etc.? And who's your favorite celebrity? And let me know in the comments if you want to see someone else next. Stay safe, have a happy weekend, and take care. Bye.